What's going on here? As I was checking out, the manager, with a smirk, handed me the bill.
Your total is $3,000. If you can't afford it, don't stay here.
What? With that kind of service, how can it possibly cost this much?
That's the kind of service we offer. You should be grateful you got to stay at a luxury resort hotel.
The manager looked down on me and said so.
If you can't pay, you could leave that watch you're wearing. Or is it fake?
The manager kept piling on the sarcasm as I panicked. After such terrible service, this amount is unthinkable. Moreover, it's $2,000 more than the initial quote. This is beyond common sense. I don't know what you're unhappy about, but if that's how you want to play it, I can't stay silent. I'll show you. I decided in my heart. I am Sarah, 37 years old. I work for a publishing company. Since high school, I've been interested in fashion magazines and wanted to work for a publishing company. In college, I majored in media business and after an internship, was able to join the publishing company I had always admired. I wanted to work on fashion magazines, but now I'm in charge of a travel magazine. In the travel magazine, we stay ahead of travel industry trends, recommending not only tourist attractions, food, and souvenirs, but also less-known accommodations. Initially, I was disappointed not to be assigned to fashion magazines, but I came to love my job through local reporting and interacting with nature and the people living there. Now, I take pride in my work. Our travel magazine features an accommodation ranking once a year. We decide on the candidates based on reviews from our readers and then go on to do the reporting with a whole editorial team. It's quite popular, and it's a project we put a lot of effort into. We inform the accommodations in advance that they have been selected as candidates and confirm whether they would like to participate in the selection. Then, for those who agree, we notify them of the general survey period and stay as normal guests to evaluate them. It's not as thorough as the famous gourmet rankings, but we do our best. This time, I will assign to report on the recommended accommodations for solo female travelers ranking at Rainbow Resort Hotel. Rainbow Resort Hotel is actually a hotel I have been frequenting since I was a child, and I expressed concerns to my chief editor about not being able to judge impartially. However, the chief editor asked me to see the new management system under the new manager, Jessica, since the manager had changed recently. The chief editor seemed to have something she wanted to know, asking me, who knew about the past? The manager changed to Jessica 3 years ago. I used to go there once a year, but I haven't been since Jessica took over. I was looking forward to seeing what kind of service the renovated hotel offered. Rainbow Resort Hotel has a history of 100 years and was especially well managed by the previous manager. Located away from the city, Rainbow Resort Hotel has pool access. So, there were times when the business was struggling. However, the previous manager promoted it as a resort hotel where guests can enjoy magnificent nature, and it was a huge success. It grew into a luxury resort hotel, winning over guests seeking relaxation. This time, it received many reviews from female guests, hence it was entered into the solo female travelers category. Upon arrival at the resort hotel, the manager, Jessica, and the staff greeted me in full force. Being welcomed by so many staff members made me feel like I was in a dream world. The luxury resort hotel was as exciting as ever. Moreover, there was something I was asked to do after this job. I wanted to complete everything smoothly. However, as soon as I entered the hotel, I noticed something concerning. While all the staff greeted me with lovely smiles, only Jessica was not smiling. Jessica gave me a thorough up and down look before letting out a humph. I made sure to dress appropriately for the luxury resort hotel. But as I entered, I couldn't help feeling anxious, wondering if I had done something wrong. While sipping on the welcome tea, I noticed Jessica whispering to an employee. The employee's slightly troubled expression caught my attention. After finishing my tea, I headed to the front desk, where the employee apologetically explained my room. I had booked a room with a view of the lake, so I was looking forward to the scenery as I followed the directions to my room. However, upon entering, I was shocked. It was a room with a sad view of the mountainside, fully exposed. "Excuse me, but it seems my room is different from what I booked." Rushing to the front desk, the clerk seemed to sense something and quickly connected me to Jessica. "I'm sorry, but I booked a room with a breathtaking view, and this seems different."
Huh? That room is also considered one of our rooms with a view. Is there something wrong?
I don't like to complain about the service, but this is truly too much to overlook. This room is completely different from the pictures that appear online. Can you change my room, please?
Sorry, but we're fully booked today. If you dislike the room that much, would you like to cancel?
I can't cancel because it's for work. Reluctantly, I decided to put up with this room. Moreover, if they claim this room with only a mountainside view is among their scenic rooms, I couldn't argue further. The room was a disappointment, but I was looking forward to a meal at this hotel. With some time before the meal, I went to the pool and wandered around the hotel. The hotel's ambience was as lovely and comfortable as ever. Yet, something peculiar caught my attention. The expressions of the employees were subtly gloomy. Seeing their faces made me feel a bit uneasy. As mealtime approached, I returned to my room. This resort hotel offers two dining styles: eating at the hotel's restaurant or having meals brought to your room. I had reserved the latter option. Having meals brought to my room means I can eat comfortably alone. However, the meal was nowhere to be seen past the scheduled time. Finding this odd, I called the front desk after about 30 minutes. The clerk then informed me that a cancellation had been made. Moreover, they said it was a sudden cancellation and that they were also in a bind. Confused, I insisted I hadn't canceled anything, but they said they couldn't bring the meal to my room anymore. With no other choice, I went down to the restaurant on the first floor and ordered from their menu. I was confused about why this was happening. After finishing my meal at the restaurant, I headed back to my room feeling disappointed. The service was completely different from what I had experienced before, and I was worried I couldn't fulfill what had been asked of me. Then, I saw Jessica directing employees from afar. Wanting to discuss my situation, I quickly approached her. "Jessica, do you have a moment?" Jessica looked at me and let out another humph.
I'm busy, so please make it quick.
I could strongly feel that Jessica wanted to leave this situation as soon as possible. Well, the service I've received this time is vastly different from the plan I booked. What's going on?
Different. Weren't you the one who suddenly canceled? We're in a tough spot here.
That's a misunderstanding. I haven't canceled anything. I showed Jessica the reservation screen on my smartphone. Still, Jessica didn't take me seriously.
By the way, your breakfast was also canceled, wasn't it? Due to a last-minute reservation for tomorrow, we've allocated your canceled spot to that. So, you'll need to arrange breakfast for yourself. Excuse me then.
Jessica said this in a hurry and scampered off as if fleeing. My breakfast canceled too. What in the world is going on? I returned to my room, feeling utterly lost. Sighing, I thought to grab a beer to cheer up and open the fridge, only to find just one beer inside. I'm sure there were more when I took a picture earlier. I reviewed the photo data and indeed confirmed there were many drinks in the fridge, though I thought it best to inform the front desk. drained by my earlier encounter with Jessica. I lacked the energy and fell asleep instead. The next day, although it was for work, I hurried my checkout, wanting to leave as soon as possible. Normally, I enjoy my stay up until the last minute, but this time I just couldn't stand to stay any longer. Upon heading to the front desk, there was Jessica. Jessica looked as if she had been waiting for me, with a pleased expression on her face.
Hi, are you leaving now? Did you enjoy your stay?
As if I could enjoy it. Thinking this, I checked the invoice Jessica handed me. What's this supposed to mean? As if mocking my surprise, Jessica said,
Your bill is $3,000. Poor people shouldn't stay here.
What? For that service? How can it possibly cost this much?
Huh? You should be grateful you got to stay at a luxury resort hotel.
Jessica said, looking down on me.
If you can't pay, you could leave that watch you're wearing. Or is it fake?
Jessica kept piling on the sarcasm as I panicked. After such terrible service, this amount is unthinkable. Moreover, it's $2,000 more than the initial quote. This is beyond common sense. Why is it $2,000 more?
Oh, for the additional food orders. You drank all the beverages, and there's also the added service charge. I believe it's a fair amount.
I only drank one bottle, and the extra meal at the restaurant wasn't that expensive. And I didn't cancel my meal. Why? Seeing my confused and flustered state, Jessica's expression was one of smug victory. I don't know what your problem is, but if that's how you want to play it, I can't stay silent. Let's see how you like this. I sent a message to someone and, after sighing, looked into Jessica's eyes and said, Who do you think you are?
What?
Jessica was momentarily taken aback by my sudden change of tone. I didn't want to speak like this, but I thought it was the only way to get through to Jessica.
Who do I think I am? I'm the manager of Rainbow Resort Hotel. And you? Who do you think you are?
Jessica was momentarily taken aback by my sudden change of tone. I quickly took out a business card and handed it to Jessica.
Who do I think I am? I'm the manager of Rainbow Resort Hotel. And you? Who do you think you are?
Jessica bit back with a half laugh. I quickly took out a business card and handed it to Jessica.
Travel magazine editor, Sarah.
Upon seeing my business card, Jessica's face turned pale.
Why are you here now?
Well, you were informed in advance that an inspector would be staying as a guest during this period. Jessica crumpled my business card, glaring at me with a terrifying look.
Why are you the inspector? Don't mess with me.
As her voice rose, employees started to calm Jessica down. Still unable to contain her excitement, employees hurriedly took Jessica to the office. I was also taken to the office.
Explain yourself.
Jessica, perhaps due to her shock, started saying things that made no sense. Without needing an explanation, one look at the business card should make clear what was happening, if one were in a calm state. But Jessica wasn't capable of that at the moment. I began to speak as slowly and calmly as I could. I stayed here as part of our magazine's ranking survey project. Unfortunately, Rainbow Resort Hotel will receive the lowest rating. If you find this evaluation unsatisfactory, you may withdraw from the ranking entry now without any issues. What do you wish to do?
Of course, I'll withdraw.
Understood. Then, it's settled that you'll withdraw. Also, please be advised that from now on, we will decline any advertising requests from you to our magazine. We appreciate your past cooperation. I intended to end the matter with this. However, Jessica still seemed not to have calmed down.
Why is someone like you even in researcher? I can't accept this. Wearing things that look so expensively half-hearted.
I was in charge because it was a ranking for solo female travel. Was there an issue with me? Then Jessica started to list her complaints about me. It seemed she had taken issue with my appearance as a stylish career woman from the moment I arrived. And what irritated her further was my watch.
Humph, wearing that luxury brand watch. Who do you think you are? Got a patron or something?
She continued to nitpick at my watch. I don't have a patron. This was something I saved up for a long time and finally managed to buy.
Lies. You must have flirted your way into getting someone to buy it for you. There's no way I could afford something like that on my salary. And there's no way you could afford it on yours.
Jessica's delusion was slowly starting to scare me. And then Jessica's true nature came out.
I'm doing this job to punish women like you who get too carried away. Life doesn't always go your way. I was the one who canceled your reservation. Seeing your troubled face made me feel refreshed.
Hearing Jessica happily talk about her wrongdoing filled me with fear. I just couldn't comprehend what Jessica was saying. The employees around us were also dumbfounded. Yet, Jessica's tirade didn't stop.
Have you calmed down yet?
A male voice sounded from behind.
Who?
Dad. Entering was my father, James.
So you do have a patron after all. Calling him Dad, how embarrassing. You're the lowest as a woman.
My father, hearing this, sat down next to me with a laugh.
Jessica, I'm not Sarah's patron. I'm her dad. You have an odd imagination that I am Sarah's patron.
My father handed Jessica his business card.
Chairman of the Rainbow Group. See, I knew you had a sugar daddy. What is this all about?
Jessica seemed not to recognize anything even after seeing my father's business card.
What's the Rainbow Group anyway? Never heard of it.
Whether she lost her cool and became reckless, or she genuinely didn't know my father, was hard to tell. It's impossible for Jessica, the manager of Rainbow Resort Hotel, not to know about the Rainbow Group. Then, another man rushed in.
Jessica, enough is enough.
My father greeted the man with a smile.
Hi, Michael. It's been 4 years. I heard you've been doing well managing as president.
The man who entered was Michael, the current president of Rainbow Resort Hotel. Upon seeing my father, Michael began to apologize sincerely.
James, I'm terribly sorry for Jessica's rudeness. My deepest apologies.
What are you doing? These people don't matter.
Enough. Do you truly not realize who these people are? This is James, our major shareholder, and his daughter, Sarah. You've met them before, haven't you?
Jessica looked at us with a startled expression, as if she had just realized something.
It can't be helped. I haven't attended the shareholders' meetings for the past few years. Besides, even though our company has dealings with the hotel, I haven't been directly involved in anything. I asked Sarah to do a little task for me because she was coming here for the report, but things didn't go well.
Yes, my father is the chairman of the Rainbow Group, owning a significant amount of stock in the Rainbow Resort Hotel. Moreover, our company supplies some of the food products to the Rainbow Resort Hotel through our distribution channels. I work at the publishing company, but I am also registered as an officer in my father's company. This arrangement has been approved by the publishing company, though only a few people at the top are aware of it. I rarely work as the officer for my father's company, only a few times a year. My father and I have a farm agreement to ensure my work at the publishing company is not affected. I discussed this report task with my father, who then asked me to talk about future investments after the report was finished. That's why, when things turned out this way, I contacted my father, and he came because he was nearby.
I'm very sorry.
Michael prompted Jessica to apologize properly.
But I can't stand a woman who comes to a luxury resort hotel like ours alone.
Jessica was either stubborn or trying to justify herself, still complaining. If she can't stand it, she should just abolish the single guest accommodation plans. My father began to speak slowly after observing Jessica's behavior.
I don't know the reasons behind such service, but I want you to understand that it damages the century-old legacy the previous generation worked hard to maintain. You were asking for an increase in investment, but I'm afraid I must withdraw all involvement after this incident.
Hearing this, Michael started to apologize frantically.
I'm terribly sorry for this situation. James, please, anything but that.
I'm sorry, but we are not running a charity here. We cannot invest where there is no prospect of return.
Michael listened to my father's words with a dejected expression.
A business can recover even in tough times if the people working there have the drive, especially the leadership. My decision to invest was based on the energy of the former manager. However, I don't feel that energy now. There's no future for a resort hotel with a manager who thinks about demeaning its guests.
Beside the disheartened Michael, Jessica was still glaring at us with the same hostile expression.
It's okay. We'll make it work, just the two of us. We'll be fine.
Jessica, enough is enough. I've received complaints about you from other employees, and our guest repeat rate has dropped. Without further investment, our future is bleak. I should have discussed this with you sooner.
Then Jessica started yelling again.
What's wrong with everyone? What have I done wrong? No matter what I do, I'm always compared to the previous manager, unable to indulge in luxury. My peers are living in luxury, dressing beautifully, but I want no part of this life.
Jessica seemed to have lost herself, her complaints endless.
I thought becoming a manager would allow for luxury. Marrying you for money was a huge mistake. Day in, day out, I keep smiling and greeting guests, but I didn't become a manager for this. I wanted to be envied.
What are you saying? Didn't you enter this industry because you liked hospitality? I thought you were wonderful and married you. When did it change to? Was it only for my family's wealth?
After saying this, Michael took a moment to think, then painfully told Jessica,
I'm sorry, but we need to divorce. I can't be with you anymore.
Jessica was taken aback by the sudden declaration of divorce.
How can you say that? How am I supposed to live if we divorce? I'll be penniless. Please, anything but that.
Jessica started pleading with Michael.
I'm disappointed in you. Even with me, you won't achieve the luxury you desire. Also, I have a duty to protect this resort hotel. It's best you leave and find what you want to do.
Michael said coldly. At these words, Jessica seemed to come back to her senses and started apologizing to us.
James, I'm extremely sorry for what happened. Please, give me another chance not to disappoint you.
Seeing my father's unresponsive look, she seemed to realize her mistake. She turned to me, begging for help with her eyes. But there was nothing I could do. Finally, Jessica started to plead again with Michael.
I've only worked in this job. What am I supposed to do if you leave me? You know that, right? I won't accept a divorce. Absolutely not. Please forgive me, Michael, and James too.
But it was too late. Neither my father nor Michael was willing to forgive Jessica. It seemed they had already made up their minds.
If we're getting divorced, I'll be asking for alimony. Don't think you can get away with this for free.
Well then, I'll be suing for the significant damages you've caused. Be prepared.
At these words, Jessica seemed to realize it was futile to argue further and collapsed in tears, becoming motionless. In the end, I was able to leave without paying anything, thanks to Michael's apology, and headed home with my father. I never dreamed that my assignment would end this way, and having never experienced anything like this in my life, I was utterly exhausted. Afterward, Michael divorced Jessica. It seemed she put up quite a fight, and the divorce took a considerable amount of time. The commotion at the well-known luxury Rainbow Resort Hotel became a big rumor in the travel industry, and it seemed like the business struggled for a while. After the divorce, Jessica hid herself in a secluded business hotel and looked for work at the front desk, but it seemed no hotel was willing to hire her. With such rumors circulating, it's unlikely any hotel, even in desperate need of staff, would hire her. I heard rumors she's now working in a fishing village, living in, but whether that's true or not, I don't know. Later, I heard rumors that the president's sister became the new manager of the Rainbow Resort Hotel and is doing her best. The former manager, though retired once, is apparently showing his face at the hotel a few times a week now. It seems the hotel is slowly regaining its vitality. Seeing the situation improve, my father decided to resume investing. He seems to have judged that the crisis has passed and things will be all right from now on. The incident with Jessica was a real misfortune, but now the reviews are getting better, and the number of guests is increasing. As for me, I continue to write articles for the travel magazine. Since that incident, I've focused more on interviewing managers. I've realized that the satisfaction of the guests greatly depends on the manager's philosophy. This article is popular among readers, and I am happy that the number of pages is gradually increasing. I hope to continue writing articles that will satisfy travel enthusiasts and will keep up with my efforts in conducting interviews.
My name is Bob, a 55 years old man running a company. Our company, Bob's Office Supplies, is fairly well known in the stationery industry. I've worked from morning to night for this company. I had sometimes sacrificed my family. Now, I value my family life and have a fulfilling personal life. Thanks to my excellent employees and part-timers. Recently, our business has been growing, so we decided to hire new people. I had delegated the recruitment process to the HR department. As the CEO, I left all the hiring to HR. However, I felt something was off because the newly hired employees kept leaving. I couldn't pinpoint exactly what was wrong, but I had a bad feeling. Could there be harassment happening behind my back? If so, that would be a big problem. We are a large company, and any such issues would quickly hit the news. So, I decided to investigate. If I don't figure this out, people will keep leaving. And what's this about the reviews online? I was concerned about the online reviews of the company. Someone who seemed to have interviewed at our company wrote it was the worst company. Maybe they faced discrimination during the interview. In our hiring process, limiting applicants based on background or gender is prohibited. If that happened, it would be a serious issue. People are quitting, and we are getting bad reviews from interviewees, which has me worried. I need to get to the bottom of this quickly. There's a part-time hiring coming up, and I plan to go undercover for it. After work, I went looking for a wig or something to disguise myself. The wigs were quite expensive. Synthetic ones cost up to a few $1,000s, which even I, as the CEO, hesitate to buy. I can afford it, but can't justify the expense just for an undercover operation. While looking at synthetic wigs, a salesperson recommended a product to me. The wig was synthetic but had a natural-looking part, and wasn't too shiny, so it wouldn't be obvious. It even had some gray hairs, which suited me as a touch of distinguished gray. I'm 55, and having all black hair would look odd, so I chose the gray wig. Then I went to look for glasses. I usually wear contact lenses. No one at the office has seen me in glasses. So I picked out a pair of age-appropriate silver-framed glasses at an optician's that could be ready on the spot. They had a nice, distinguished look. At home, I dug out an old suit that I got from my dad. It's quite worn out. The design is outdated, and nobody wears this style anymore. I'll take this suit to a dry cleaner. When the suit came back from the dry cleaner, I tried it on with a wig and glasses, along with the old, unfashionable gear. I looked like the epitome of an unfashionable middle-aged guy. In this getup, no one will recognize me. Under the distinguished gray wig, my head is shaved, which gets a bit stuffy. I started losing my hair in my 30s and have been bald since. I wanted to be a distinguished gray-haired gentleman, but my hair was gone before that could happen. For the part-time job interview, I came up with a fake name. Let's see, what should my name be? I can't be bothered to think too much. I'll just use my brother's name. All right, I'm Lucas. Choosing a name was a hassle, so I borrowed my brother's name, Lucas. I always say ideas are important in the company, but coming up with a fancy name for undercover work is just too much trouble. I thought about names like John or James, but they didn't feel right. So, as Lucas, I was going to the part-time job interview. About 10 people will be hired this time. They are expected to be placed in sales administration, accounting, and general affairs at the headquarters. I wrote that I was applying for sales administration on my fake resume. I was honest about my education. I only graduated from high school. My family was poor, so I couldn't afford college and went into manufacturing right after high school. Then I started Bob's Office Supplies and have been working as its CEO. No one knows my educational background, and I doubt it will come out here. When I entered the company, the receptionist came to ask my business. I'm here for the interview, I said, changing my voice to avoid being recognized as the CEO. The receptionist didn't seem to recognize me. All good so far. I took my pass and hung it around my neck. Then went to the designated conference room on the 3rd floor. Chairs were lined up there, and one woman was sitting. She looked to be about 25. I wonder if it's just me and this lady for today's interview. Then HR's Mike came. Mike doesn't have the best reputation. He's a senior in HR but is known to be harsh with the younger staff. It wasn't bad enough to be considered harassment, so I couldn't really reprimand him. I once warned him, "Don't be too intimidating."
I didn't do anything like that.
But Mike stuck to his guns. I thought it pointless to nag if he hadn't done anything, so I haven't been able to warn him since. It would be a big problem if Mike was being arrogant during the interview, but I couldn't imagine he would do that. Then again, it might be possible. After all, the people coming in for interviews are trashing us in the reviews. I started to feel more nervous, noticing my hands were sweaty. The woman next to me looked pale, perhaps she was nervous too. I began to worry more about her. Mike told us to come in, so the woman and I entered the conference room.
Please have a seat.
Thank you. Mike said that, so we sat down. The woman was fidgety and seemed restless. She must be very nervous. Watching her, I couldn't help but feel sorry for her.
Let's start the interview. Could you please submit your resumes first?
Yes, here you go.
Here is mine. Please take it. All good. He doesn't seem to recognize me. I handed in my resume and returned to my seat.
All right, we have Catherine and Lucas. Okay, let's start the interview.
I see.
I'm all right. And so, the interview began. The woman next to me, Catherine, seemed to be shaking now. She must be really nervous. Mike was looking intently at me. Oh no, did he recognize me? No, it's fine.
Let's start with you, Catherine. Why did you apply to our company?
Yes, well, I've always loved stationery, and I especially collected Bob's office supplies products because they are so easy to write with. I wanted to work here to help provide useful products to the world.
But you applied for a sales administration position, right? Selling to retailers is the job of the sales team, and sales administration is support. Developing new products is the task of the product planning department. It's not really sales administration sending out products useful to the world. Did you even seriously consider your motivation for applying? It seems like you're just making this up.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to be helpful to Bob's office supplies.
Right. By the way, your resume says you dropped out of college. Why is that?
It's embarrassing, but I stopped attending and eventually dropped out. I couldn't keep taking time off.
You don't feel ashamed for dropping out. Nowadays, it's pretty bad not to at least graduate from college. It's bold of you to bring such an embarrassing resume here. And the area you live in, well, no offense, but it's known for being rough, right? This downtown area.
Well.
Are your parents from there too? I won't say much, but it's kind of shady, right?
Sigh.
Mike was clearly being discriminatory. He didn't say it outright, but he was insinuating it. I was shocked. I hadn't expected this kind of behavior during recruitment. No wonder people wrote such scathing reviews. The interviewees must have felt deeply hurt and frustrated. Being criticized for their education or where they live would upset anyone. Then Mike showed Catherine a pen. Just one of the ordinary ones we make.
Here are 2 pens. I'll give one to you. Take it.
Thank you.
Now, I already have a pen. Try to sell me the one you have. Any pitch will do. Make me want to buy it. This is usually for those applying to sales, but let's see if your skills match our standards. Not that you'll be able to do much.
Well.
Go ahead. Sell it to me. You may use any sales pitch you like.
This pen is similar to the one you have, but it's actually a bit different. It writes more smoothly and is easier on your fingers.
So what? That alone won't make me want to buy it. Give me a more compelling reason.
This pen has very beautiful ink and doesn't smudge on paper.
Such features are common in all pens today. Your ideas are pretty limited. Low education seems to equal low creativity. I doubt you can handle the job here. Even in sales administration, there's a lot to do. I don't think you're capable. Maybe you should start by actually graduating from college.
Catherine looked downcast and on the verge of tears. Even if her speaking skills were poor, there was no need to be so harsh. What Mike was doing seemed less like an interview and more like harassment. Anyone treated this badly would want to write a negative review. I certainly would feel the same. Then Mike intently read my resume and smirked creepily. The grin was so eerie that I felt ripples. Mike looked at me and said,
A high school diploma, really? In this day and age?
Well, I grew up in a family that couldn't afford college, so I only have a high school diploma. Is there a problem with that?
It's not just a problem, it's a huge one. Honestly, you're the first high school graduate I've met. It's like meeting an alien.
Oh no.
And you, at 55, applying for a part-time job. That's embarrassing, isn't it? What about your family?
Well, I have a wife and grown children.
So think someone married you. She must have peculiar tastes. Oh, looks like you don't have much money either. Wearing that old, unfashionable shoe. Living a poor life. Right. Middle-aged part-timers are really the bottom of the barrel. Well, maybe it's time for this undereducated middle-ager to leave. No point wasting more time questioning you. This is futile.
No way. It's over.
Yes, interviewing you is a waste of time. Now off you go.
All right, then. Thank you for your valuable time. And I left the room alone. Mike, still unaware of my true identity, was laughing foolishly. Well, he can laugh all he wants for now. He will be sent to hell sooner or later. The next day, Mike started talking about the interview the previous day. As I had asked him to report on the part-time hiring, he laughed, saying only the undereducated showed up.
I almost burst out laughing at the combination of a college dropout woman and a high school educated middle-aged man. Never thought we'd attract such bottom feeders. The woman looked like she was about to cry, and the man, well, his shoe was so worn and tacky. It's amazing they even applied to our company. They really don't know their place.
Well, I think you're the one who doesn't know your place.
What? What are you talking about all of a sudden?
Mike looked confused, not understanding what I was saying. So, I thought I'd explain it to him nicely. I wonder what his face will look like when I tell him everything about yesterday. I'm being rather mean, aren't I? Yet, I couldn't suppress my smirk. Actually, that was me.
Wait, what do you mean?
I attended the interview undercover yesterday. You were quite rude to me, talking about high school graduates and such. Except for my name and address, everything was real. I really am a high school graduate. Well, now I clearly see you've been looking down on me for being a high school grad. Yes, very clear indeed.
Wait. I wasn't looking down on you.
Really? But didn't you say yesterday that meeting a high school grad was as rare as encountering an alien? You don't look down on me, but you did on Lucas. Is it because I'm the CEO?
No, well, that is, well.
Changing how you treat people based on their status is the worst. You may think it's okay to grovel in front of me, but that's not how it works. You have to be fair to everyone. You're in HR, right? Isn't it your job to care about employees, think about their benefits, and make the company a better place to work? And you're in charge of hiring, too. HR is the face of the company.
Yes, exactly.
You might not be the star like the sales department, but HR is what people see first. These visitors could become employees or part-timers, so you need to realize that HR represents the company. If not, it damages our corporate image.
Yes, you're right.
And what about your behavior towards Catherine yesterday? Do you think it's okay to say such awful things to her? Such discriminatory remarks are unacceptable. Because of what seems to be your conduct, we've been getting bad reviews online. You've tarnished our corporate image. I'm sorry, Mike, but you're being demoted. You've worked hard as the head of HR, but that ends now.
No, please wait. Don't do this.
He stammered in panic, probably fearing the pay cut that comes with demotion. But that's not enough. He needs a harsher punishment. I decided to transfer Mike to a branch in the countryside. What's the rush? It's not over yet. What you did requires a fitting punishment. How about you head to rural Nebraska?
Nebraska, that backwater.
Yes, please work at that branch. We recently had a resignation there, and they are short-staffed.
Please, no. I have a young child in elementary school, just started at a private school. I can't just move to Nebraska. I feel bad about transferring my child from a private elementary school to a public school. And what about my home mortgage? What am I supposed to do about the house we bought 5 years ago?
Well, that's something for you and your wife to discuss and resolve.
Please don't say such irresponsible things.
It's unfortunate for your child, but if we consider such things, no business owner could ever transfer employees. He chose to buy his house, so it's not my place to be burdened with his decisions. Whether Mike gets an earful from his wife is not my concern. They need to sort it out themselves. I knew from Mike's boasting that his wife works in research. She's employed by a multinational company, earning more than Mike.
I've got a good wife.
Mike had said, but considering her husband's behavior at work and subsequent demotion, she might not want him anymore. Continued separation might lead to divorce, but she'd manage with her income. I don't know what she signed Mike, but he must have sweet-talked her at some point. Mike ended up going to Nebraska. As expected, his wife and child chose not to follow. Considering the child's school and her job, I heard their marriage turned sour. Apparently, her father was a college dropout. Because of this, he faced many challenges in society. He encountered discrimination, but he used that frustration as motivation to work hard. He didn't want his daughter to experience the same struggles, so he diligently saved for her education. He worked tirelessly to afford her college and graduate school. She believes she could graduate from college and graduate school in science thanks to her father's efforts. So, she lost patience with Mike, her husband, who ridiculed people with less education, just like her father. In essence, Mike probably looked down on his Phil in his heart. Everyone has the urge to compare themselves to others. but expressing it through words or actions is problematic. Mike likely never imagined his workplace issues could lead to his family crisis, but this should be a time for him to reflect on his life. He should learn that the world is full of people with various circumstances. Afterwards, I hired Catherine. She seemed timid and somewhat unreliable, but her motivation was strong. She was 24 years old and had been living as a part-time worker ever since she dropped out of college. She told me that she wanted to join Bob's Stationery and become a full-time employee someday. There was a reason she dropped out of college. She was harassed there. When she first started college, she had many friends and was a bright and energetic girl. But there was a girl who didn't like her. She framed Catherine by starting a rumor that a wallet was stolen and placing it in Catherine's bag, making her look guilty. Eventually, it was understood that Catherine wasn't the culprit, but she was ostracized by everyone in the class after that. Being at the top of her class before, she lost her place because of this incident, and she stopped attending college, leading to a reclusive lifestyle. Realizing she couldn't continue this way, she quit college and started working jobs like in convenience stores. However, she struggled to find stable employment and never secured a full-time position. Watching her aging parents, she feared she might end up caring for them while still working part-time jobs, which terrified her.
I thought maybe I could change here, at Bob's Office Supplies. There's a chance for full-time employment, and I have fond memories associated with this company.
Fond memories? What happened?
When I was in elementary school, I gave some candy to a boy who was transferring schools as a farewell gift. In return, he gave me a pen from Bob's Office Supplies, the one with the bunny character series.
Oh, the bunny series pen that's popular with young girls. You received that, huh? It's been a long-selling item.
That's why it means a lot to me. I still keep that pen with care, and I've always hoped to meet that boy again, but I don't know where he lives now.
It would be nice if you could meet. He was your classmate. After all, he should remember you. Catherine must have had a crush on that boy. I thought that it must have been her first love. The boy who gave her our pen must have liked her too. He was such a cute boy to give her a bunny-patterned pen, which girls seem to like. Then one day, a sales employee named Oliver returned from the UK. He had been working in our UK branch. Our company is actually well known abroad, especially in the UK as Bob's Stationery. The quality of pencils in the UK isn't great, and the color is faint. Initially, I wondered if they didn't have HB pencils or the like in the UK. But every pencil I bought seemed to have faint color. Then, when I rubbed the words I wrote with a pencil to delete them with an eraser, the paper tore. Thinking this wouldn't do, I decided to spread the word about America's excellent stationery in the UK. Interestingly, foreign-made ballpoint pens often run out of ink quickly. Now, American stationery is quite popular abroad, bought by tourists as souvenirs. Because of its quality and design, with many cute and stylish options that foreigners love. Oliver, who worked a year at Bob's Stationery in the UK, brought back lots of souvenirs, including sweet chocolates and cookies.
Here, these are from the UK. My suitcase was bursting. Please help yourselves.
Thank you. I will enjoy these later.
Of course, go ahead. Oh, is she new here?
Yes, This is Catherine, who's joined us as a part-time administrative assistant.
Catherine, you say.
Do you know her?
Of course, we were classmates in elementary school. I transferred out, though.
So, you were Catherine's classmate.
Oliver, I never thought we'd meet here.
Me neither, Catherine. It's been so long. How have you been?
Well, a lot has happened, but I'm managing.
Got it. Looking forward to working together.
Sure.
What an unexpected and emotional reunion. The boy Catherine spoke of, who had transferred schools, was Oliver. Oliver giving her a pen from Bob's office supplies back in elementary school. How sweet. Catherine and Oliver worked well together at the office, finding good synergy in their tasks. Although Catherine had never done office work before, her intelligence allowed her to quickly grasp and master the tasks she was taught. The senior employee in the administrative department was impressed by her work. Oliver found it helpful how meticulously Catherine handled the tasks he assigned to her. They seemed to be getting along well. I have to attend the sales department meeting. It's held once a week, and each time we report on the sales figures. Oliver seemed more enthusiastic than before, which led to some teasing from other employees.
Got a girlfriend or something?
No, that's not it. I don't have a girlfriend.
Well, it doesn't matter. But you've been really enthusiastic lately, Oliver. Just don't overdo it and take care of yourself. Okay?
Yes, I'm sure.
As for the sales figures, Oliver, you're at the top this time. It seems like your training in the UK paid off. Well done.
Thank you. I really felt the importance of identifying new needs there. I plan to work with the planning department to promote better products.
We're looking forward to it. Then,
I thought Oliver's enthusiasm might be largely due to Catherine's influence. Every time Oliver came to report to me in my office, he would also mention Catherine, then his face turning a bit red, which made me think he still liked her. One day, Catherine and Oliver came to my office together. I wondered what it was about.
Bob, we've decided to get married.
Wow, really?
Yes, we've been dating in secret. We were too embarrassed to tell everyone.
I see. Well, you didn't need to hide it.
Well, I've never had a girlfriend before, so it was embarrassing to admit.
I was a bit surprised. Oliver is definitely attractive. In fact, he's quite handsome. I had assumed he'd been popular with women and gotten a lot of attention, so finding out he didn't have a girlfriend was unexpected. But maybe he was shy. Catherine, standing beside me, was looking down, but I caught a glimpse of her face turning red. In a soft voice, Catherine said to me,
I want to keep working here even after getting married. Can I continue to work here while balancing family life?
Of course, you can. The administrative team says they can't manage without you. We'd be in trouble if you left.
Really? That's a relief. I was worried I'd lose my job now that I'm getting married.
We're not an old-fashioned company that would ask you to quit because you're getting married. Would you like to become a full-time employee? We'd love for you to take on more responsibilities.
Am I a full-time employee? I was indeed attracted by the chance of full-time employment, but are you sure? I don't feel confident.
I'm confident you'll do well, Catherine. Please have faith in yourself.
Okay, I'll do my best.
Catherine responded energetically. She's capable, and I'm sure she can balance work and family life well. Oliver is also kind, likely to help with household chores. I was invited to their wedding, which was very touching, and I found myself crying as much as their parents. Both Oliver and Catherine were smiling throughout the ceremony. At the reception, everyone from the office performed dances and played music, making it a delightful event. I'm glad I attended. Since then, Catherine has been working hard as a full-time employee. Then Catherine got pregnant, and Oliver happily informed me. Oliver asked me what kind of preparations he needed to make in becoming a dad. I shared some thoughts on preparing for his daughter's future wedding. I have a daughter, and she is already married. I felt happy yet nostalgic. Oliver ended up crying. He must have imagined the time when his not-yet-born daughter would be married. I regretted making him cry, but felt he would be a great father. I hope Oliver and Catherine continue to be happy. By the way, Mike, whom I demoted, ended up quitting because he couldn't handle the rural lifestyle. His wife has asked him for a divorce. I felt that the two couples were the complete opposite of each other.
I refuse to acknowledge someone without education as my husband's acquaintance. This isn't a place for people with low education like you, so could you please leave?
I was coldly spoken to and mocked by my friend's wife at his company's inauguration party. Even as my friend hurried to intervene, his wife didn't care and continued to hurl insults.
I don't want my husband associating with uneducated people, and I really think he shouldn't continue this relationship.
Her condescending demeanor reminded me of the bullying I faced during my school days. Growing up neglected by my parents and belittled by my classmates because of my disadvantaged background. I felt a resurgence of those bitter memories at her words. Understood. If you insist to this extent, ma'am, I'll leave. She smirked satisfactorily at my words. However, I have one condition. I continued, which led her to realize her mistake and eventually caused her to lose the prestigious position she was so proud of. My name is Kenneth Carter. I grew up ignored by my parents as a child. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that I grew up in a very disadvantaged family environment, known as a neglected child. Perhaps because of that environment, my classmates didn't really want to get close to me. Once, on a whim, I asked a classmate why, and he replied that his parents had told him not to play with me because my family environment was bad. Those words were a huge shock to little me. It's not like I chose to be born into this environment. I used to feel envious of everyone around me. And because their parents said things like that, my classmates gradually began to see me as less than them and started harassing me. Because of this, there was a time when I hated going to school, but I never dropped out. All this was thanks to my classmate, David Hartman. He was the only one who didn't mind being with me and was friendly to me, which made me happy. David came from a wealthy family, but it seemed his parents were rarely home due to their busy jobs, so there was no opposition to our friendship.
I failed the private school entrance exam and ended up here.
David not only played with me but also often helped me with my studies, knowing I struggled with them. However, during one of those moments, he let slip it unexpectedly. It was when I let slip my envy towards David, who was already quite accomplished in our grade. When I was surprised by his unexpected story, he gave a wry smile. He had been disappointed about failing the exam, but his parents hadn't scolded him too much, though he had wanted to meet their expectations and had apparently cried about it. Now, he was working hard studying for the private middle school entrance exams to meet his parents' expectations. I knew he went to tutoring every day, but learning about his underlying feelings made me reflect on his kindness and efforts. I couldn't just be envious, I had to work harder too. To me, David was a true friend and a real pillar of support. However, despite his efforts, David failed the middle school entrance exam. I don't know what his parents said to him, but he ended up going to study abroad in Australia, and we were separated right after elementary school graduation. We promised to meet again, and then we parted ways. Since then, after entering middle school, I desperately begged the local friendly store owner to let me help out at his store. It was really lonely being apart from David, but knowing he was working hard far away, I felt I had to do something too. So, I diligently saved up my allowance, and because I didn't want to stay at home anymore, I didn't go to college after graduating from high school and left my parents to work in a live-in job. Years after graduating from high school, having experienced various types of work, I used my gained knowledge to start a company that would take on anything. From cleaning up hoarders' houses to dealing with scenes of solitary deaths, I really did it all. Working tirelessly paid off, and the company grew steadily. While it wasn't a huge corporation, it had become known as a handyman service, even being featured in the media. One day, while I was back in my hometown for work, after finishing a meeting for my next job, I was having lunch at a cafe when someone suddenly spoke to me.
Are you Kenneth?
Yeah, and you are. David. Looking up, there stood David, all grown up. It had been since elementary school graduation since we last met, but I recognized him immediately from his lingering youthful features.
Wow. How many years has it been? Have you been well?
It's been about 14 years since you went to study in Australia. I've been good, and you look great too.
Yeah, that's right. Man, I went abroad for studies. What are you doing now, Kenneth?
Me. I started my own company. So, what have you been up to, David? Our reunion excited both of us. It seemed David had time since he came to have lunch too, and he sat down opposite me. Then we caught up on each other's current situations. David recently got married and is working at his parents' company. Moreover, he's been involved in activities for impoverished children. And he shared the reason behind it. Wait, so I inspired that.
Yay, it's not out of pity or anything. I just realized that not every kid has the life I took for granted.
I get it. But hey, let me support your cause too. I talked about my company and then offered to help with the charity work David was doing. David, you started this because of me, right? Then I want to do something for kids who are in the same situation I was.
Of course. An offer from Kenneth, the famous handyman CEO. There's no way I could refuse. With both of us working on it, it's bound to be a huge success.
David, thank you. Over the next year, David and I put our plans into action. It served as a corporate social responsibility effort, creating and providing places where children who couldn't afford school or tutoring could learn and be taught. The response from the community was positive, and many appreciated what we did. From there, we expanded the initiative nationwide, creating similar spaces everywhere. I wanted to reduce the number of kids who had backgrounds like mine, so it was natural to take action. Then, a year after we started our project, David told me he was going to take over his parents' company and had been appointed CEO.
Finally. We finally made it.
David, congrats, but you know it's going to be even tougher from here, right?
Yay. Being a CEO comes with a lot of responsibility.
That's right. It's not easy being a CEO.
I'll keep that in mind. But hey, there's going to be a party soon.
A party? Oh, you mean a CEO inauguration party?
Yeah, I'm planning to invite you. So make sure you're free, okay?
Got it.
All right, it's a promise. And I'll introduce you to my wife then.
Understood. I'll make sure to behave. A few weeks later, I was invited to the inauguration party at David's company. There were several people I knew at the venue. I didn't see David right away, so I chatted with some acquaintances for a while until someone suddenly called out from behind me.
Kenneth, you're here.
Oh, David, sorry, I got caught up talking about future plans.
Well, everyone's busy. It can't be helped.
That's true. And who's the lady with you?
Oh, White. This is my wife, Mary.
David introduced me to his wife, Mary. Mary, who certainly had the air of a lady, greeted politely, so I greeted back sincerely in return.
I'm his wife, Mary. You're the Kenneth my husband speaks so highly of, aren't you?
Yes, I apologize for the late introduction. My name is Kenneth Carter.
So it's you.
I don't know what David has told Mary about me, but she looked me up and down thoroughly. Despite being deeply disrespectful for a first meeting, I decided to let it slide since she was David's wife.
My husband tells me you only finished high school. Is that true?
Yes, that's correct. It's embarrassing, but I didn't grow up in the best of circumstances and started working right after high school.
Really? It's actually true. I would rather not acknowledge someone without an education as an acquaintance of my husband.
I was taken aback by her sudden rudeness.
Excuse me, Kenneth, but this isn't a place for someone with your educational background. Could you please leave now?
Excuse me.
Hey, Mary. What are you saying to Kenneth?
This was the first time someone had blatantly pointed out my lack of a college degree like this. I was shocked that she would try to kick me out of the party because I wasn't deemed suitable to be associated with David. It wasn't the first time I was mocked for only finishing high school, but this level of rudeness was new to me. David quickly tried to correct his wife, but Mary didn't seem to care. It seems she thinks she's above me.
David, please don't say anything. I heard that Kenneth has been helping disadvantaged children together with my husband.
Yes, I've been doing my best.
But you're just using your friendship to add your name to something for a social statement, aren't you? The things uneducated people think of can be so distasteful.
What?
I would prefer if my husband didn't associate with such worthless people and didn't continue this relationship.
Mary, enough is enough.
Mary judged me solely by my educational background as a worthless person. I had never expected to be spoken to like this upon first meeting my friend's wife. Her words and the way she remained unfazed even when David scolded her brought back painful memories of bullying I endured during my school days. I couldn't bear it any longer, though I felt sorry for David. Understood. If that's how you feel, ma'am, then I will leave.
Kenneth.
Next to a stunned David, Mary smiled smugly at my response.
I'm glad you understand.
However, I have one condition.
Oh, how bold of you to make a condition.
That's right. I will leave the party as you wish. In return, I was planning a substantial investment in your company, but I will cancel that. Mary snorted.
Go ahead, do as you please. Our company will function just fine without your investment.
Are you sure? I was about to invest $10 million in David's business, but as of today, I will stop that investment.
Understood. Wait, $10 million.
Mary's smile froze. Glancing at her, I turned to leave.
What, Mary? Enough is enough. Kenneth, please wait.
I was about to go home, but David stopped me, saying there was a speech he had to give as president and asked me to wait. Initially, I refused and tried to leave, but he kept apologizing and pleading, so I decided to stay because of David's request and listen to his inaugural speech from a corner of the room. Of course, far from his wife's reach. During his speech, David confessed how hard it was growing up under a previous president who valued educational backgrounds highly. Meeting me changed his outlook, he said. He declared that now as president, the company would value hard work over just educational backgrounds or family lineage.
Despite the hardships, I am who I am today because of my best friend, Kenneth Carter. He is my best friend and a commendable person who started his own business.
I was introduced as a friend who didn't let my tough upbringing defeat me and had made something respectable of myself. It was unexpected, and I felt both embarrassed and pleased at the same time. I have always prided myself on my efforts. I started and succeeded in my own business. But I must not forget that it was with the help of others. Using the network I had gained, I not only invested in David's initiatives, but also gathered other company owners to sponsor his efforts.
I intend to have Kenneth as a partner in our future community contribution projects.
I was also surprised by David's announcement. Being recognized as a partner was truly an honor. After the speech, David brought Mary over to me again.
Kenneth.
Hey, David, that was an excellent speech.
Thanks. Anyway.
He then looked sternly at Mary next to him.
Mary, those words in my speech represent my beliefs. So, apologize to Kenneth for looking down on him because of his educational background.
What? No, that's...
David urged his wife to apologize to me.
Mary, please apologize.
David repeated, and Mary, looking annoyed, glanced between David and me.
What? I haven't said anything wrong. Your friend is just a rare exception. I absolutely refuse to apologize.
Mary awkwardly maintained that she was right and refused to apologize. David sighed heavily at her stubbornness.
All right. Mary wants to see my company fail, it seems. If our views are this different, let's end it.
What? What do you mean?
It's simple. The current company and its projects are viable thanks to Kenneth's investment. If you can't understand that, then we should get a divorce,
David stated clearly that he was proposing a divorce to Mary.
What? Wait, how did it come to this?
It's because you refuse to acknowledge your wrongs.
But that doesn't mean.
Mary started to panic, but David suggested they discuss it through lawyers. Then, signaling to me, he and I left the venue together. A few days after David's inauguration party as CEO, he told me he had divorced Mary. Really, you did it seriously?
Yay, it's true. Well, it was a marriage our parents arranged anyway. If you ask if we were close, not really, and I'm not bothered by it.
Oh, I see. Mary had been arrogant towards the company's employees too, believing her position as the future president's wife entitled her to such behavior. David had warned her about this attitude multiple times. Seeing how relieved David was now, I realized he had never been serious about Mary. Moreover, following the divorce, he also canceled contracts with Mary's parents' company. David's parents were quite angry about his unilateral actions, but after he explained that Mary's parents' company was underperforming, they seemed to calm down, albeit still displeased. Later, when their business significantly declined, they finally stopped complaining, David reported with a laugh. It might be more accurate to say they couldn't complain anymore.
Now I can finally run the company the way I want.
David, you've really worked hard.
And a lot of that is thanks to you, Kenneth.
Really?
Yes. Growing up with you, I've always been inspired to give my all.
David, thank you.
That's my line.
David, I was really moved by your inauguration speech. So, let's keep working well together as business partners.
Of course. We've come this far thanks to your investment.
David and I shook hands, vowing to continue our efforts as business partners. Just as I was helped by friends and those around me despite my challenging upbringing and limited education, I'm determined to protect the future for the next generation of children.
This story takes me back over 2 decades ago, when I was just a kid. I grew up in a rural town, even further out in the sticks. To get to the city, it would take more than 2 hours by train. It's that kind of place. But it wasn't like those dramas or movies where everyone knows each other and gets along well in the shopping district. There wasn't that warm and friendly atmosphere. Although there weren't many people living there, nobody was really interested in each other. For better or worse, that's how I remember the town. Then came the summer I entered 7th grade. I had a bit of an unusual experience, which I'll talk about today. It happened one day during the summer vacation. My parents had divorced when I was very young, and at the time, I was living with my maternal grandparents. My mom worked during the day, and since my grandfather had passed away early due to illness, it was usually just my grandmother, who had trouble walking, and me spending time together. She was always smiling and kind, not much of a talker, but she would listen to me for as long as I wanted. I've always loved my grandmother for that. So, I never really felt lonely even when my mom wasn't around during the day. That day, I was supposed to go to the local pool with a friend, but they had to cancel at the last minute, so I was a bit sulky from the morning. Then, my grandmother suggested we go together, and she ended up coming with me to the pool. She couldn't get into the water because she used a wheelchair, but she watched over me from nearby, so I was able to have plenty of fun on my own. Especially since it was incredibly hot that day, The water felt amazing. But back then, I was only thinking about myself, not considering my grandmother at all. Unable to enter the water, she had to sit in the scorching heat, which led to her getting a mild case of heat stroke. On our way back, I pushed her wheelchair and apologized. "Grandma, I'm sorry. It was really hot, wasn't it?" But she was cooling her forehead with an ice pack we got from the pool staff, smiling as she always did.
It's all right. I enjoyed spending time outside after so long, and I was really happy to see you having fun, Jason.
Despite feeling guilty, I was really happy to hear her say that. She seemed to feel better by the time we got home after drinking lots of water. But she still seemed tired, so she lied down as soon as we got back.
We were supposed to watch that drama together this evening. Sorry we couldn't,
she said, looking apologetic. We had been watching a drama series that was being rerun just for the summer holidays.
Don't worry about it. I'll record it, so just rest up, Grandma.
I said, and then I went back to my room. Then I must have been tired too, because I fell asleep before I knew it. I woke up to the sound of the house phone ringing. Since my grandmother had difficulty walking, I was the one who usually answered the phone.
Hello?
I said as I ran to pick up the receiver, and it was my mom on the other end.
Hello, Jason. I'm going to be late tonight because of overtime. I won't be home for dinner, so could you tell Grandma to order takeout or something?
My mom is a nurse. Though her hours are supposed to be fixed by her shift, it's not uncommon for her to stay late if there's an emergency. On days that aren't like this, she usually makes a delicious dinner, so we were used to it.
All right, I got it. Take care at work.
I replied and hung up, then headed to my grandmother's room. Grandma used to cook dinner for us, but since she became wheelchair-bound, it's been difficult for her to stand in the kitchen. So, when Mom was late, we would order takeout. When I entered Grandma's room, it seemed like she had just woken up from the sound of the phone. After I explained the situation, she asked me to get her wallet from the cupboard, which I did as told. Then,
oh no.
It was rare for Grandma to raise her voice like that, so I immediately asked, "What's wrong?"
We used up the cash at the pool earlier. I don't have any on hand. This is troublesome.
Really? That's a problem.
I was in a bind. I spent all the money in my wallet buying cooling patches and drinks for Grandma earlier, so now it's completely empty. She said she'd be late, but she's definitely coming back today. I was hungry, but I thought maybe we'd just have to wait for Mom to come home. Just then,
I'll go withdraw some money.
Grandma said that as she tried to stand up. But she was unsteady even getting to her wheelchair, and I could tell she hadn't fully recovered yet.
Wait, Grandma, it's dangerous. You should keep resting. I'll go.
Or so I said. But as a kid who had just started middle school, I had never used a bank before. I had no idea what to do, but I couldn't bear the thought of letting her go in her condition.
Jason, can you do it?
Sure enough, Grandma was worried. But I reassured her, of course. I'm in middle school now, right? Just tell me what to do. Somehow convinced, Grandma then told me what I needed to do at the bank. It was essentially about how to use the ATM. She said it should be fine as long as I carefully followed the instructions on the screen. So, with the bank book and a note with the pen in hand, I set off. I had seen Mom use ATMs a few times before, but I always thought of it as something far removed from me, a child. Though it wasn't my account, taking this step felt like moving closer to adulthood, and I remember feeling a bit proud. The nearest bank was about a 5-minute walk away. Grandma had said that the ATM was immediately to the right after entering the door, but when I got to the specified place, my heart sank because the ATM had an out-of-order sign on it. It looked like there was only one machine, and the sign also read, "We apologize for the inconvenience. Please use the counter service or visit another branch." It was clear that this ATM wasn't an option, and the other branch didn't seem to be within walking distance, leaving me at a loss. But I didn't want to go back without accomplishing the task Grandma had entrusted to me. Determined not to give up, I decided to go to the counter. Although Grandma had only told me about using the ATM, I figured the bank staff could tell me what to do at the counter. Stepping into a bank alone for the first time was a new experience for me. Naturally, there were no other kids my age around, making me feel out of place and quite nervous. But wanting to reassure Grandma, I pushed forward to the counter. I timidly approached the nearest female teller, but she interrupted me with, "Please show me your number ticket," leaving me puzzled. Getting a number ticket is common at banks and government offices for adults, but I had no idea about that at the time. When I seemed confused, an employee noticed and told me, "There's a machine over there where you can get a number ticket. Please take one and then come up when you're called." They did explain what to do, so maybe they were trying to be helpful. But at that moment, I felt somewhat rejected by their impersonal, businesslike tone, which hurt a bit. Holding on to that anxiety, I did as instructed and took a number ticket, and I waited with my head down until my number was called. I thought if I looked up, I'd become too conscious of people's stares. Finally, when my number was called, I walked up to the counter. Then a different male employee was sitting there this time, and our eyes met briefly before he quickly looked away.
This?
I tried to hand over my number ticket with a bit of forced cheerfulness. The employee looked surprised and said, "Really? Just you?" I felt a bit offended at this point. Sure, I was still a kid, but I was already in 7th grade. I shouldn't be treated like a little kid. Though I admit, I am on the short side. It felt like the employees were underestimating me because I was a child. Despite being scared until just a moment ago, I started feeling a bit defiant and said,
"Yes, I'm here to withdraw some money."
I thought clearly stating my purpose would get me recognized as a customer. But the male employee laughed and said, "If you're just fooling around, please leave. We don't have time to waste on broke kids," and shooed me away with his hand.
I'm not kidding. I have my bank book and card right here.
I tried to argue, but the employee wouldn't listen. He probably thought it was unusual for a child to come to the counter, and that the amount I wanted to withdraw wasn't significant. Sure, I was only withdrawing $20 for dinner, not a large sum. But to dismiss me as poor and refuse me service just because I was a child was incredibly unfair.
Is there a rule that kids can't do this?
I retorted, but the indifferent employee had already started calling the next number, and the next customer looked at me with suspicion.
I guess this place isn't meant for kids after all.
I couldn't help but feel that way as I trudged home. When I got back, my grandmother asked with concern,
You took quite a while. Are you okay?
I had intended to just mention the ATM being out of order without showing any concern. But the experience at the counter had been so frustrating. I ended up tearing up. After I explained what happened, my grandmother soothed me, saying, I see, that must have been hard. I'm sorry you had to go through that. In the end, we decided to make sandwiches together and wait for my mom to come home. When I told my mom the same story, she got angry on my behalf, saying, That's terrible treatment just because you're a kid. Despite being tired from overtime, she cooked delicious fried chicken and stir-fried vegetables. The incident at the bank counter was shocking, but the support from my kind grandmother and mom helped lessen the sting. I figured I wouldn't be going back to the bank anytime soon, and that things would be different when I'm an adult. I decided to keep it as an unpleasant memory, tucked away deep inside. But sooner than I had tucked it away, I faced the issue again. A few days later, my grandmother invited me for a walk in the neighborhood. Then she said,
Would you mind if we stop by the bank over there?
I froze for a moment. I wouldn't feel the same way with my grandmother by my side. But since the wound hadn't fully healed, I hesitated. Understanding my reluctance, she asked, You're still upset about what happened, aren't you? Would you rather not go? But I thought it would be uncool to dwell on the negativity. So I said, No, it's fine, and agreed to go to the bank with her. Right upon entering the bank, I was in for a shocking experience.
Welcome.
Right in front of the door, 2 employees said that and bowed. Of course, I hadn't received such treatment the last time I was here. I remember being surprised at how differently I was treated just because I was with an adult. But it seemed there was more to it than that. As they raised their heads from the bow, I inadvertently exclaimed,
You were the ones from last time.
Yes, they were the same female and male employees who had served me previously. Having just had such an unpleasant experience, I wasn't exactly keen on seeing their faces again. But before I could dwell on it, they apologized. We were very rude last time, and we apologize.
Why?
I was happy to receive the apology, but it felt as if they knew I was coming, which was surprising. Wondering what was happening, I looked at my grandmother's face. She was just smiling warmly as always. Still not understanding what was going on, my grandmother and I were led into an inner room. Then they served me orange juice and my grandmother coffee. What surprised me there was that they somehow knew my grandmother's preference for 1 milk, 2 sugars right from the start. I knew this because she often said, I know it's bad for me, but I love sweet things. But how did these employees know? As I pondered this, my grandmother began to speak.
Actually, after that, your mom and I discussed it and decided to open an account for you, Jason.
Saying that, she handed me a brand new bank book, different from the one she had kept for me before.
Really?
My very own bank book for the first time. It really made me feel grown up, and I was incredibly happy. Then my grandmother continued.
Now, my grandson is officially a customer. Can I trust that such treatment will not happen again?
The employees were taken aback by her words.
Yes, we're very sorry.
Listening to this, I had thought, My grandmother must have called the bank to complain about how they treated her grandson. But that was only half right and half wrong. The true answer became clear after hearing what the employees had to say next.
After hearing from the former chairman, we realized our mistake. We thought if a child came in, they would just be playing around and it would be a waste of our time, but we were wrong. We should have at least asked about the situation, and such language was inexcusable. We're deeply ashamed. Sorry.
The regret they felt for their previous service was evident, and although the shock I experienced at that time won't disappear, this helped me feel like I could finally digest it. But honestly, what intrigued me more was the mention of former chairman. I immediately voiced my curiosity, asking, "What do you mean by chairman?" to my grandmother. And then, a surprising fact was revealed. It turns out my grandmother was once the chairman of this bank. Meaning, even though she had retired, she held a significant position for the bank. That's why the employees were so nervous and even knew how she liked her coffee.
Yes, a customer's trust must be earned, and that trust is determined by how they are treated, regardless if they are a child or not.
Hearing this, the employees bowed deeply. After being apologized to multiple times, I kept saying, "It's okay," over and over again. And so, my somewhat special experience came to an end. Until now, she was the sweet grandmother I loved. But after this incident, I felt like something about her had changed a bit. She became the kind and cool grandmother I admire. Even if she was the chairman, without people's respect, she wouldn't have been treated so preciously. Her words about trust made me realize it's something I too want to live by. It's been over 2 decades since then. My grandmother is no longer here, but the lessons and experiences from that time still live on within me. While I'm far from being a chairman, I now hold a position of responsibility and strive daily to be a trusted leader like my grandmother. If she's watching from above, I hope she's smiling with her usual warm smile.
What? It's still not done. It's been 3 hours since my grandmother stopped by the bank to open an account. A sweet grandma. She's probably hesitating to speak up, seeing how busy the bank clerk is. I went to the counter in place of my grandmother. "Excuse me."
Yes.
The bank clerk turned around with a smile, but his demeanor changed completely upon seeing me and my grandmother.
Oh, it's you guys. Persistent, aren't you? We put the pool last.
They snickered, mocking us. I sighed deeply, appalled. If that's the attitude of the bank staff, then so be it. Fine. I'll withdraw my balance of $29 million and close my account.
What?
He ended up in a world of hurt just because he underestimated us. My name is Ryan O'Connor.
Good morning, Ryan.
Morning, Grandma. I've moved for work, so now I'm staying at my grandparents' place. They're so kind and supportive of everything I do, which I truly appreciate. While brushing my teeth, I noticed some documents on the table. I reached for one of the documents. It was related to banking. What's this about, Grandma?
Oh, that. I was thinking of opening a new account.
I see, I said as I picked up a few other documents, but they all seemed sketchy or were for places far away. Concerned, I recommended a bank to my grandmother. How about the bank I've been using? It's safe, and they're always polite. I think it'll be fine. I looked up the bank's site on my smartphone and showed it to my grandmother.
If it's a place Ryan goes to, then I feel safe. I'll go there today.
Are you sure you don't want me to come with you, Grandma? I'm worried about you going alone.
No, it's fine. I don't want to trouble you.
She said, gathering her things and heading to the bank I recommended. Despite what my grandmother said, there was something that worried me. It was something about my grandmother that concerned me. The story goes back a few years. It was when I was out at work.
Hello, it's me.
Oh, Ryan, what's up?
Yo, it's me, Ryan. I accidentally bumped into an elderly person on the street and hurt him. Now they're asking me to cover the medical expenses.
How much do you need?
It seems to be about $10,000.
On her way to the bank, as instructed by someone claiming to be me, my grandmother apparently ran into my grandfather. And then my grandfather, puzzled, reached out to me. Hey, Grandpa, yo, what? That wasn't me. Yeah, say hi to Grandma for me. Thanks to my grandfather, we avoided falling victim to a scam, but I was really on edge at the time. That day, like any other, my grandma, bless her heart, was what you might call a good soul, a bit naive, and quick to trust folks, which had me pretty worried, I gotta say. I wonder if Grandma's really okay. Worried, I still headed off to work. Amidst my concerns, my grandmother had gone to the bank counter.
Welcome. My name is James. How can I help you today?
Well, I'd like to open a new account and deposit $100.
My grandmother apparently spoke to a bank clerk named James, who looked at her quizzically.
Excuse me.
Despite her attempts, she was ignored.
Yes. Oh, it's you again.
He just looked at her and snickered.
Want to open a bank account.
We put the pool last.
Grandma was brushed aside, treated dismissively by James with a go that way, off you go attitude. She tried to speak to James, the first clerk she approached, several times, but she was continually brushed off, and it seemed like the wealthier customers were always served first. She kept going to the counter over and over again, but it seemed like she was hardly acknowledged and ended up waiting for 3 hours.
That old lady is so persistent. Poor people should just go home.
James was visibly annoyed by her persistence.
Excuse me, is it still difficult?
Yes, it seems it will take some more time.
I see.
Being kind, my grandmother blamed herself, thinking perhaps she was at fault, and repeatedly approached the counter when it seemed less busy. I hoped Grandma would be okay. Worried about her during work, I decided to call home just in case. My grandfather answered the phone. When I asked, he said she hadn't returned yet. What? She's not back yet. Yay, okay. I'll check in later then. I left work early and headed to the bank where my grandmother was. I wonder if Grandma didn't know how to open an account, or something happened on her way back from the bank. I was walking, lost in thought about various things.
Welcome. Hi, I'm James. Nice to meet you. What brings you in today, sir?
Upon arriving at the bank, a male bank clerk approached me with a smile. Although he was smiling, his eyes weren't.
This customer looks wealthy. He's probably a high priority.
No, I don't have any business here. While I was half listening to the story of this guy named James, I was scanning the area, trying to spot my grandma. Oh, Grandma. I rushed over to her.
Ryan.
Ah.
James clicked his tongue and sighed upon seeing my grandmother and me.
Don't act all high and mighty. You're just wearing an expensive suit, that's all.
He looked down on me too and walked away. What's with that bank clerk? Such a bad attitude. We sat down, bewildered by the rude treatment we'd received from James, the bank clerk. Grandma, you're late. What happened?
Well, I still haven't been able to open a bank account.
What? It's still not done.
I've told him multiple times, but he just won't listen. I think it's because I don't understand how it works.
Really? Can you tell me what happened? I found out that James, who was rude earlier, just wouldn't pay attention to her, and she ended up waiting for 3 hours. I couldn't understand why he wouldn't assist her with something as simple as opening an account. When I opened mine, everything went smoothly and the service was good. Maybe that person is no longer there. I looked around, but I couldn't see James anywhere.
Ryan, what's wrong?
Nothing, just wondering. I should have just come with you from the start. Muttering to myself, I approached the counter again. Excuse me.
Yes, it's you again. Persistent, aren't you? Poor folks should just sit over there.
James turned around and immediately changed his attitude upon seeing me. We'd like to open a bank account, please.
I've told her multiple times. We'll call you when we're ready. Please wait.
But my grandmother has been waiting all this time.
Well, it's a bank. Waiting is to be expected, cow.
He chuckled as if he was mocking me. No matter how many times I tried, he just wouldn't listen, and I was left feeling frustrated with the bank clerk. It seems talking to you is useless.
That's my line. We don't have time to attend to you exclusively.
Hearing his words, I sighed deeply. I see. Then I'll withdraw my balance of $29 million and close my account.
What?
So, I said I want to withdraw my balance of $29 million and close my account. If you say you don't have time, then I won't take up any more of it. I don't want to inconvenience you. James looked at me, his eyes darting around.
That's just bluffing.
Shaking, he pointed at me, laughing. If you think I'm bluffing, feel free to check the account. As I handed over my bank book, he started to verify the account. The bank clerk looked at me with a mixture of astonishment and disbelief.
It's just a bluff, just some poor guy trying to look important.
After checking my account, he began to scream.
No way, this can't be. Absolutely not.
Startled by his shout, the people around were like, "What's going on?" Like a newborn deer, he trembled and made his way back to the counter.
Sorry for keeping you wait.
He placed the bank book down, still shaking. So, was it just my bluff? I leaned in to look at James's face, which was turned downwards.
No.
Sweat was dripping from his forehead, his voice cracking. Hearing the commotion, the branch manager, William, appeared from the back.
What's going on here? Oh, hi, Ryan. Good afternoon. How are you?
Good, thank you, William.
Did James cause you any trouble?
William approached me in a flustered manner. I explained to William how James made my grandmother wait for 3 hours and how his attitude changed depending on whether he thought someone was wealthy. James looked pale, his head down and hands clenched tightly. Upon hearing the story, the branch manager, William, glared at the bank clerk.
What's the meaning of this? I don't recall instructing you to treat our customers in such a manner.
That was, well, not me.
Excuses are unnecessary. Step back. I'll be taking care of him.
James, who had been so assertive earlier, shrank down and grumbled as he trudged away.
I apologize for the unsightly behavior you had to witness.
No, William, it's not your fault. I've been indebted to you since before. This goes back several years. I was working as a regular company employee but wasn't feeling fulfilled. It was when I turned 27. I started to have subordinates and was told I was competent, which allowed me to climb up to the position of supervisor. The expectations from my company were a pressure for me. When I was thinking that I guess that's life, I heard a phrase on TV.
Your whole life is decided by 30.
That casual phrase struck a chord, and I started looking for what I really wanted to do, buying books and such. I hadn't wanted to be a company employee from the start. So, while I wasn't dissatisfied with my life, I felt a bit anxious. That's when I decided to quit my job and start my own business. The bank here, and specifically William, was who lent me the money at that time. I was clueless, but when I shared what I wanted to do, he willingly took it on. I went from bank to bank, but hardly anyone would give me the time of day until I finally came to this branch. William warmly welcomed me then.
I see. A business dealing in foreign products.
Yes, that's right. I was dripping a bit of sweat as I swallowed hard. I remember this moment well. I was extremely nervous, my breath almost caught. I watched William as he looked over the documents. I was prepared to be rejected again.
That looks great. International business.
Really?
It's inspiring to see someone chase their dreams. Makes me want to support them.
William's kind words are unforgettable. Knowing someone like him was at this branch made me trust it could support me. Thanks to this bank and William, I was able to start my international business and grow it to where it is today. Back to the present.
It's been about 3 years, hasn't it?
Yay, that's true. If you hadn't helped me out that day, I don't think I would have been able to achieve such success. My company imports products from several foreign companies and has grown in employees. And to say, without meaning any disrespect, I'm earning far more than James could imagine. Maybe it was all thanks to that phrase I heard on TV that day. I'll be heading home for today. I'll discuss the bank account matter more with my grandmother. With that, my grandmother and I returned home. The next day, a phone call came to our house. Okay, I'll get it. Grandma. Hello. Yes, wow. It was from William, the branch manager. He mentioned wanting to come over to apologize for yesterday's incident. Yes, understood. We're both here now. Thank you. I'll see you soon. And 15 minutes later, the doorbell rang. To make amends for yesterday, I thought the banker named James would be joining him, but when I opened the front door, only William, the branch manager, was standing there alone. Since he mentioned wanting to see my grandma too, I let him into the room before going to fetch her.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Would you like some coffee?
I'm sorry for any inconvenience.
So, what brings you here today? I started the conversation. Actually, William began to talk, and the atmosphere grew a bit tense, because he started to apologize to us very earnestly.
I am truly sorry for the trouble we caused.
He kept on apologizing repeatedly. William, please don't apologize. When I said that, he fell silent, looking apologetic. According to him, James, the bank employee who had served us before, was fired. Apparently, besides us, he was also putting off customers who looked poor. He was boosting his performance by catering only to wealthy-looking customers, but it seems like there have been numerous negative reviews and word of mouth circulating about him, especially after this incident and on social media. It seems like the issue had been brought up a few times during morning meetings and other discussions, but because the complaints were made anonymously, they couldn't determine who was at fault, and it looks like they couldn't take any action against him. During one of these times, William noticed the altercation between me and James and reported the issue to higher-ups. And as a result, James was fired yesterday for causing significant damage to the company.
On behalf of our bank, I would like to apologize to you, Ryan, for the inconvenience and discomfort we caused.
Then, my grandmother gently tapped William on the shoulder.
William, thank you for coming all this way. Actually, Ryan and I were talking yesterday, and we wondered if it would be possible to open a bank account with your branch.
My grandmother smiled kindly at William.
Ryan told me that he trusts your bank more. I understand that everyone has their circumstances, so I wouldn't mind about it.
Hearing my grandma's words, William seemed a bit tearful. Since I'll be there too, can I ask for the account opening process again?
Yes, of course. Thank you very much.
Afterward, I accompanied my grandmother, and we successfully opened a bank account. Despite everything, William's assistance made things right. Although there were some unpleasant feelings, I realized the importance of personal relationships. And now, I'm living the regular day-to-day with my grandparents. Grandma, Grandpa, have a great day.
Take care, dear.
Seeing my grandparents always smiling makes me happy. I've decided to not judge people by their wealth, but to build trustworthy relationships.